Hello, Abigail, the Keen Witch here with the Tarotscopes for Aries season for my Libra, Sun, Moon, and Risings. All right, guys, it is in fact the opposing season to yours, and the season contains multitudes. And we started off in the middle of the eclipse portal, moving towards the Aries eclipse, coming from the Virgo eclipse, and it's a lot. We are in a Venus retrograde. We are in a Mercury retrograde, and all of these things are happening in opposition to you. Um, so it's a lot. It is also the ending of your nodal story, that South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries. Yes, the nodes have moved on, but this is that final eclipse. And so there's a lot. It is a lot. And so much happens in Aries season. We get Neptune into Aries for the first time. That 0 to 10 degrees of Aries just gets constantly pinged this year and will continue to do so as we get Saturn in Aries in May, and then that retrograde back into Pisces, and then back into, Aries in the spring, not the spring, I think early winter, early year of 2026. So that's where we are. And it's a lot. And I think it's important to know that it's a lot. I don't really believe in like quantifying bad or good in astrology, but this is a season that is overwhelming. And it cannot be overwhelming for good reasons because a lot is happening. And some of that a lot might be good, but it doesn't mean that we're not feeling stressed and stretched. We also finished off that Mars retrograde 2 weeks before the Venus retrograde. So we've been just constantly in these kind of rebuilding, regressing, re understanding, re everything moments that we get in retrogrades. So I think it's important to take note that that is the case. If you are doing well, great. I will say a lot of people who were able to process a lot last year are doing better than they were this year. But if you have been struggling to move through energy, or it feels like you've been waiting for a very critical moment to move forward, this is that moment. Believe me, I'm in it too. And in very Libra style, it's not because of, I'm not a Libra, but obviously it's in my chart. It's very Libra style because it's not because of me, it's because of others. Um, that I'm having to process stuff. So it doesn't have to be because of you. It can be other people who have refused to process, being forced to process, and now you are part of that because of your friendship, your relationship to them as a family member, their partner, whatever. So yeah, that's just kind of where we are. It is a lot. I do think within the chaos there are a lot of beautiful gifts and gems from the universe, but you need to be rested enough in order to enjoy them, which is the theme that has come across all of my readings in person. Um, Online, in these videos, lots of just rest, just recuperate. Energy like this requires deep integration, and that integration can only happen when you're sleeping. There's nothing you can do to force it. So rest when you can. Let's get moving in. We start off with your archetype card. It is the tear. And I do love this because I love the kind of eye as like this vision of awareness with this gem of a beautiful tear. It makes me think of the grief that awareness brings, the grief that revelation brings. Um, Many wonderful things happen, and there's often kind of a mixed sense of feeling when something wonderful happens. When you realize that maybe it could have been different earlier, or maybe you thought something was one way and now it's another. That's very kind of on theme for a Venus retrograde, where you're like, oh, that's not what I thought it was. Good to know. So there is like this poignant grief, but this beautiful gift of this tear, this knowing, this recognition of what has been and what will be, and what you are in this moment, and what you have been in the past, and what you will be in the future. And it's this really lovely intuition and awareness, heavy burden to bear, but also a beautiful gift to carry. So I think in this season, to kind of recognize when a tear is a gift and recognize where your eyes have been closed, and being able to move forward with more understanding and progression and wisdom. And also to know within that awareness, because this is kind of enshrouded in darkness, that you don't need to know everything in order to get the things that you want. And that while there is often grief within joy, there's also joy within grief. So live with that dichotomy, which you're very good at because you are a Libra. You live between things, you live between this and that, in between the balance of things, trying to find the middle, which is a very hard place to be all the time. I recognize that. Also a reminder, every so often I tell Libras in my life this: don't forget that you're very good at balancing things, but it doesn't always mean the quality of the thing is good. So this Aries season, throw off the balancing of garbage, the balancing of things that don't deserve to be here. And this beautiful awareness that the tear is going to bring is going to help you see things for what they are, and knowing whether you want to put the energy in to like maintain them, especially if they are not equitable for you. Moving into our first card, we do have the Daughter of Wands, and the pages, which this is one of them, have been bopping around in my readings recently, really reminding us to have hope and to engage with this energy, even though it's a lot, with youthful desire and a belief in the goodness of things. Um, it's also, the wands are very much about action. It's about doing the things that are in front of you with hope and doing the things that are immediate to you with joy. We're not going to be able to maybe do big, massive, expansive things. The universe is doing that for us. But as far as us being able to physically activate and get stuff done, probably not, unless you have a very unique birth chart. Um, but it is this just picking up what's in front of you, just going with what you have to do in the moment and doing it, believing that these little things that you do are going to make really beautiful big things. And also that the little things are beautiful big things. It's all about perspective. So I'm not saying you have to be hopeful when things suck, but having this desire and viewing your dreams as valuable and worthy and beautiful in whatever shape and form they're in, and then doing the small task you need to do to maintain them rather than, kind of biting off more than you can chew, is an important thing to do this season. Moving into the next one, and I've been getting a Four of Swords literally everywhere for everyone. Rest. Rest, 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 rest. Rest where and when you can. If something can be put off for tomorrow, do it. Rest instead. Especially during the eclipse portal and kind of in the final few weeks of March, which is the eclipse portal. Um, me remembering my astrology. Um, there's not a whole lot that you can do. And if you are tired, you just need to rest. And this energy is exhausting, so rest. I love this imagery of these little owlets surrounded by swords. Protect yourself, set boundaries, care for yourself, um, take little naps. If you're not a napper, take time to kind of pull you away from reality. Um, Something that I find really helpful in Venus retrogrades is coping mechanisms. Finding things that aren't harmful to you or someone else, but that you can lose yourself in a little bit, whether it be books or stories or TV shows or comics or pretty much anything that can distract you from the here and now. Not to disassociate, not to remove yourself from reality, not to not participate, but to give yourself a little break. Um, you can take a little 5 minute, 10-minute break, however long, an hour nap, and still care about the world and the situation in the world. If you think you can be plugged in all the time, every time, you'll be sadly mistaken and you will burn out and you will not make it. You need rest, you need relief and release within all of this knowledge and energetic turnover, etc. And then we come to your next card, which is Five of Swords. Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, folks. People are going to have differing opinions and people are not going to want to settle things. People are going to be in their feelings and they're going to want to start fights. And they're also going to be resistant to just living and let living. And this is your call to decide what level you want to engage with them. Decide the worth and the value of arguing with someone who is maybe just arguing because they're upset about other things, who is maybe just arguing to argue, or maybe arguing to distract themselves from themselves and the problems that they should be dealing with. So don't participate in any arguments or squabbles that are pointless. Pick your battles. Um, and also pick your battles with people who are genuine. There are a lot of disingenuous people who will literally just pick fights and say crazy stuff just to get a rise out of you, especially if you do care a lot about stuff. And this is the call in the season to be like, you can respond to them with a statement and not an argument. They say something really gross and hurtful about a certain group of people. Instead of saying, no, you're wrong, and here's why, you can just say, wow, that was a really hateful thing to say. No response required. And if they want to keep arguing, you can be like, I only argue with people who hate other people. Um, and these are for special cases. There are some people who genuinely want to have a conversation, and that you can have. But when it's someone who really just wants to get a rise out of you or really just finds pleasure in being cruel and unkind, answer them with a statement. Not with a question, not with an argument. You know, be like, oh, well, really, that was a really cruel thing to say to me. Doesn't feel very nice. And then just move on. What are they going to do with that? Or you can just ignore them, leave them on red. Just a reminder that you don't have to engage in everything. And not everyone is approaching things with the same honesty and fervor and care that you do. And so you don't owe them the same like intention. And yeah, there's some things worth arguing for, but make sure you're arguing with a person who is actually worth arguing with. Some people just like to argue because they like to feel powerful, and you can tell when this with this person because when they start to lose the argument, they will devolve into personalities and into saying rude things and into ableist comments and questioning your intelligence and all these things. And those are people you can avoid and you can ignore. And you can just be like, that was a really horrible thing to say. You know, wow, rough stuff. We don't have to engage. And this is not me coming from like a higher vantage. This is how I have prepared myself to respond to people when that happens because I do care a lot and I can very easily get overcome as an autistic person with like emotion that I can't handle when I hear someone say something absolutely horrific about a group of people or about a situation or about a policy or about a system of injustice. And so just saying what you think of that person in that moment might be the key. Wow, that was a really evil comment. Crazy how you were comfortable saying that out loud. Just something I've been schooling myself in that I think in a Five of Swords moment can be helpful to kind of keep us from over investing in someone else's delusion. So then we get the devil, which really comes back to that coping mechanism thing I was talking about. I've been getting the devil a lot as well. It's about, sometimes it's about obsession and about, losing ourselves in things, which, some of us have those issues and, well, all of us have issues with maybe getting unhealthily engrossed in something. But as I said earlier, coping mechanisms are here for a reason. So use the ones you know that work for this period of time. Yeah. And you can change them up and you probably should switch them up once we get out of the Venus retrograde and we head more into like mid-April. But do what you got to do. This is advice I give and people laugh, but I read spicy books and spicy content during Venus retrogrades. It really helps me as an Aries Venus. And a lot of people, when I tell them who aren't Aries Venus, it's like, wow, it's a good idea. So this current iteration is spicy manga. The one before the Venus retrogrades before that were spicy Regency novels. And you don't have to pick this one up, but find something that works. Find something that allows you to digest this energy without you having to constantly be on. Find something that is pleasurable for you, that is enjoyable and fun, that really allows you to kind of decompress and manage this energy better than just spiraling. Also, another reminder that the devil brings is it's about subversion. It's about changing things up. It's about doing things differently. Mars is in detriment. Venus is currently in detriment. Mercury will be in detriment when it goes into Pisces. Detriment and fall placements for me are very much about putting things on their head. And Mars is not in detriment, Mars is in fall. Sorry. It's about turning things on their head. It's about doing things differently. The planets, when they're in these signs, are not able to function as they normally would. And so this is a moment to be like, I can't do things the way I normally have. So what is a way that I can creatively get the things I need and also come out of the blue, throw people off their guard, change up the storyline or the dynamic through doing something differently. If you constantly, there's some quote that I can't, no, I'm not going to, quote correctly. It's like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity, something like that. That's what detriment and fall planets ask us to remember, that we don't have to do things the way that they've always been done and that there are other options. And that in situations where we've maybe, evaded or palliated people, maybe now it's the time to not evade or palliate them. Maybe it's the time to be honest. Maybe it's the time to tell them the truth and to accept the consequences that the truth brings. And consequences, although we often think of them in a negative light, are literally just the product of an action. So, like me giving money to someone at a restaurant and ordering something off the menu, I get food. That is a consequence of ordering food. See what I'm saying? It's a neutral term that we often conflate with negativity because we're often only talking about consequences in like the context of pain, suffering. So do the thing. Also, relational stuff is really to the front right now. And so if something hasn't been working in a relationship, do something different. If you haven't been able to be honest, see what honesty gets you. And I think we're so often afraid, especially if you're a person who likes to balance and likes to make people comfortable, we're so often afraid of being honest because we're afraid of what will happen if we are. But ask yourself the question, what will happen if you're not honest? And what are the consequences and the results of not being honest or not being true to yourself? Because those can be equally scary. And then last but not least, we have the Daughter of Swords. This Mercury retrograde is really asking us to reconsider and re-understand the way that we think and the way that we do things. It also is asking us to reconsider our triggers, especially in Aries. And we move into Pisces, it's really asking us to kind of reconsider how literal we have to be in order to get our point across. Maybe there's a better way to express ourselves in certain situations. It's not a very mercurial way to beat around the bush, but in Pisces, you can make music about something. You can communicate through song. You can communicate through facial expression. It's about not taking communication so literally in Pisces and creating something really beautiful and interpretive, which, if it comes to like direct communication, might seem bad or subversive, but art is often an incredibly powerful tool because it is able to be wordless. It is able to speak through other mediums. And that is really the lesson of a Pisces Mercury. And if you have a Pisces Mercury, it's about finding that ability to communicate without having to always be word for word correct. It's about finding the groups of people that allow you to express yourself creatively. So, if you're a Libra sun, that's probably not going to be the case because Mercury and Venus are connected to the sun's orbit. So they never can go beyond like the edge of the sign over. But if you're a Libra moon or Libra rising, you might have a Pisces Venus. So just take that as you will. I don't always pull from the second deck at the bottom of the card, second card at the bottom of the deck, as I'm talking about Mercury retrograde. I have a sun card. All of this subversion and rest and doing the little things and realizations, don't lose sight of the fact that it's about becoming more of who you are. Don't lose sight of the fact that all of the stuff that is happening is redirecting you to a path that is more abundant and fulfilling and growth oriented for who you are specifically as a person. We the coping is us learning best how to survive something as a person that we are. The standing up for ourselves in arguments and refusing to be sucked into people's fantasies and, twisted beliefs about other people's human rights. It's the standing up, the saying that's a really gross thing to say. It's not really about you saying that. It's about you being able to be who you are and being able to keep that space while someone is trying to take it. So, And this above all else, to thine own self be true. Do a little more quotes today. And I know I butchered that one too, but it's from Shakespeare. I think it's from The Merchant of Venice. And actually, for anyone who is a book nerd, if you want to look up the whole quote is even better than just that quote. The context is better. Anyways, my loves, hope this wasn't too rambly. Mercury is retrograde and I am Mercury ruled. So I hope it made sense. Anyways, my loves, if you have any comments, pop them below. Please like and subscribe. It makes my day. And I will see you all in a different space and time. Blessed Aries season and, blessed spring equinox. Enjoy the spring, please, in spite of all of what's going on. And not in spite of it, even, but because of it. Embrace the newness and the beauty of the world we live in and what the spring brings.